Morning, guys. Today, Maya Angelou, as we close off with her, reminds us to always keep rising. This is the greatest power of human beings. This is where Maya Angelou is very passionate, and it comes out in her poetry. Look her up. She today shares with us an example in her poetry that she wrote and her wonderful words that she's spoken for humanity, that life always rises. She That theme is everywhere, and you have to remember that. No matter what, there are things going on that are greater than us, but we are that same thing that's in everything. So we are life, and no matter what, life energy keeps rising, and you are just like that. So no matter how hard your day may be today, just remember to keep rising a little bit, keep learning, keep growing. Try to apply that today and see how you feel at the end of it. Have a great morning, everyone.
Look, I spent 5 years in college. I went to college because I thought the teachers were going to teach me business. I love teachers, okay? Teachers are great people, but you can't know business if you're in a classroom. It's just not possible. It's like my economics teacher, there's no way he could imagine the fuel bill on my plane. It's just not real. You go to Lord Sugar and say, hey, how do you make sense of 4 jets? Why would you do that? Why'd you buy that building right there? That's the information I want. See, but most us in this room, we were taught we had to go someplace and spend 4 or 5 years there. I'm not trying to talk you out of school or university, but the fact that it takes 4 years to get out of university by itself is a major problem. It's a major problem. You know why? The 4 years, I'm trading time for money. What do rich people do? They trade money for time.
You don't go to school to learn. You go to school to get a degree, and that degree hopefully helps you get a job that you're looking for. But you don't go to school to learn. There's just so many more effective ways to learn than to go to a university. And listen, I went to university. I don't regret that I went to university. And it was 20 years ago that I went to university. And I thought I wanted to be an investment banker. And at the time, being an investment banker, you needed to have a university degree. Still probably now. I mean, if you want to become a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, you have to go to school. You have to go to school to get the degree to then allow you to get the opportunities in the job. That has to happen. Nobody's gonna hire you to be a doctor if you are just practiced. Like, just go out and get real world experience. How are you gonna get real world experience as a doctor without any kind of degree, right? But if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's only becoming more and more useless. I mean, it was pretty useless for me 20 years ago. I'm 42. Yeah, I'm 42. So 20 years ago, I remember being in my 4th year graduating class, small business course, and I was already running my company at the time, and it was honestly a waste of time. Everybody who was in the class was thinking of doing coffee shops and these little businesses, and I wanted to build a huge biotech software company. My professor didn't run a business, so I don't know how you can teach entrepreneurship if you don't have your own company. And it was just a giant waste of time. I ended up most of the time being on my laptop and working on my business while he was talking. That was 20 years ago. Now I can't even imagine what it would be like right now, and how boring it would be, and how useless or irrelevant it would be, and how much I just want to be skipping class and making videos. There's so many more opportunities right now. And listen, I was a good student. I never skipped class. It was more that I was probably afraid of missing out on stuff and failing tests. So even though I have a lot of entrepreneurial tendencies, I still did pretty well in school and showed up to classes and did all the assignments. But I wasn't happy about it, and it felt, especially the small business class, felt useless. If I'm taking economics classes and I'm taking accounting classes, those felt a lot more practical in that it would guide me towards being an investment banker. I had to have those classes on my resume, but the small business one just felt like a giant waste of time. think about your own education experience. Most of high school, college is just memorization, right? You're just memorizing stuff. It's the connections to other people, which can be helpful, and then memorizing. You don't actually learn very much. Like, how much did you actually remember from your stats class or math class or calculus or French or whatever? Like, how much did you actually? Most of it is just memorization. I'm not actually completely anti-education. It's just more, do your actions map to your ambitions? So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you're going to get nothing pretty much from a university education. If you want to be a doctor, then you have to go off and do it. And it's not so much that you're learning amazing things, because you can learn it in much faster ways. If you care about something, you're going to learn a lot more. And if you see it being practical and applicable to your life, you're going to learn a lot faster. I remember being in stats class, and statistics was super boring to me. I memorized a whole bunch of things and formulas and never applied it, didn't see how this was relevant, and so instantly forgot it. And then I was working on I have my own software company now and tool that we're using, and we're split testing different thumbnails, one versus the other, and I wanted to be statistically significant. And I remembered that term from my stats class, like, whoa, how do you calculate that again? Now that it actually became applicable to me, now I'm suddenly interested in it. And when you care about something, you're gonna be more interested in it, and you're gonna learn it, and it'll stick. Where most of the stuff that we learn in school, you just don't find it relevant or helpful, and so it doesn't stick. And so there's much faster ways to learn. It's caring about it. It's being in the community of other people who are learning. But the point of school is not to learn. The point of school is to get the degree so you can get the job. And if that's what your goals are, awesome. You still have to play that game. And if it's not your goals, then how can you better achieve your goals, right? And I get there's still pressure, and maybe your family's forcing you to do it, or you still think that in the eyes of society that's the best thing to do. But man, as long as you're making decisions based off of other people's opinions, you're never going to win. You know, if you're living your parents' version of your life, or you're living society's version of your life, you're just never going to win. That doesn't mean that you just drop everything and, you know, just throw it all away. But are you taking enough action and enough steps towards building the thing that you want to build? And maybe that means taking a year off. Maybe that means taking a semester off. Maybe that means starting your side hustle. Like, there's one thing just to complain about a life that you don't like. But the more important thing is, are you taking action? The amount of people who are complaining about the thing that they're doing that they don't enjoy, but at the same time are taking zero action towards the thing they want to do, the thing that you claim you enjoy. Are you spending enough time? Have you scheduled it in? Is it in your calendar that consistently you're taking some kind of action towards the life that you want to build, or not? And for too many people, it's no. You're just complaining about a life that you don't like, about a school system that you don't like, about a job you don't like, you know, about a relationship you don't like. But what are you doing to actually fix it? And again, it doesn't mean you have to burn the boats and go all in and you know, pour garbage all over your boss's office or quit school right away, right? It doesn't mean you have to go all in right away, but you do have to take consistent action towards building a life that you do want. I look at Movement Makers as an example, and that's my training program. It's my mentorship program where every 2 weeks I get thought leaders together who are trying to build their audience, build their community. They have a movement inside them that they want to see get out into the world. And so we talk about making videos and winning on social media and getting book deals and becoming a speaker. And how do you get that thing that's in your heart? You know, how do you get that message here out to the world? And we meet every 2 weeks, and it's the greatest educational thing out there for people who want to become thought leaders, right? If you don't want to be a thought leader, you're going to be bored and find it a waste of time. If you want to be a thought leader, it's the best thing in the world. And it's training with me, but it's also connection to community of other people who are doing it. So when you want to learn something, I look at them and they're doing it and they're taking on challenges and they're making videos, and all of a sudden now they're starting to get an audience and starting to get clients and building a business. And that's the best. You know, it's the best. And the fact that they're not just doing it by themselves, but they're doing it with other people, that you're part of a community. When you're around other people who are also learning. Learning is one thing. And going from education to self-education, like traditional education, formal education to self-education, becomes a game if you want to learn, right? Traditional education, the goal is not to learn, the goal is to get a job. Cool, if that's your goal, awesome. If you want to learn, you have to flip the model from traditional education to self-education. Stop blaming the traditional education system. It's just not designed to learn. That's not what you're there for. If you want to learn, you have to create your own self-education program. You have to go learn from the people who've done the thing that you want to do, model success, be around it, take consistent action, and get some kind of community. Because the learning amplifies when you're not doing it alone. If you feel like you're always alone, everything is on your shoulders, nobody around you understands, nobody else is trying to do something similar to you, you're isolated, you don't feel like you belong, that's really hard. It's not that it's not possible, it's just insanely difficult, and most people will quit along the way, or at the very least just not take enough consistent action. But when you're around other people who are doing the thing, who are also committed, who are learning, you're teaching each other, and you feel like you're not alone on the journey, it's one of the biggest improvements I made to Movement Makers. Was at the very, very beginning, it's 85 minutes every 2 weeks, right? So at the very beginning, it was me teaching for 85 minutes because I thought, you know what, got to get the education out, teach as much information is in my brain, pour it into your brain, and let's go. And what I found was some of the best elements of Movement Makers is having the members connect to each other and creating breakout rooms for people where they can share their experience, explain what road they're on, creating a Discord where people can share their wins, get help from each other, so that's not all flowing through me, but then they're connected to each other. And when you can create a family of people who are also learning the same thing that you're learning, man, when you're around those kind of people, everything changes. When it's not just you pushing the ball uphill every single day all by yourself, everything changes. And so moving from traditional education to self-education to actually, if your goal is to actually learn, and then finding a community of people who are like-minded, who are also chasing down their goals and their dreams, you get that, man, the next year you'll be unstoppable. You'll be unrecognizable. Like the person who you will be in 1 year compared to who you are right now, you won't even recognize it. Wow, that's who I used to be. That's how you turbocharge your growth. Invest in self-education and get around a community of like-minded people who will push you forward. Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Good afternoon, guys. How's it going today? Are you still rising? Are you still taking the things that didn't go your way so far and learning from them and changing the thinking? Because that's how you will rise from it. If you haven't or aren't having any success, I want to remind you of your power to never give up on that. Remind yourself, whatever's happened today, whatever's going on right now, go into the root of it. Go into your thoughts. Go into the thinking that produced that action, that outcome that didn't go your way. And now visualize with your belief and your determination to go back at it again whenever it comes and improve upon your response through your thinking. It's never over. We must keep rising no matter what. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Teach kids how to learn. I think it's the most important than teaching them what to learn. I think the actions speak a lot louder than the words.
What does the ideal school or education look like?
One of the things that I loved about my mom is... All right, everybody. So Christy Maggio in the house. She's an awesome member of Movement Makers. She's been with us now for over a year. And as part of that, we're doing an interview together. So she's going to interview me. She's had some questions on her mind, and
Are
this is it.
you
Take it
ready?
away, Christy. What do we got?
I've just been, there's certain things that I've meant to ask you from about your website, and you know, your story's on your website and since the beginning. So like at the top, you say it's not your fault, right? And so my first question is like, you throughout school were, struggled. You went through 3 different schools, had challenges. And you said is one of the things is like, it's not your fault. Society, you've been limited. People tell you what to do, what to be realistic. At what point do you think that adults start telling young people that, don't dream big anymore. It's not, be realistic type thing. A couple of the things that you had said on there. And why do you think that is?
Yeah, what a start. And I know you do a lot of work with kids, so this is a great kind of theme into it. Honestly, I think it's even before they say anything. I think if you ask a parent who's got a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old, and the kid wants to go and be a whatever, I think when they're really young, the parents we're usually pretty encouraging. Like, yeah, you can go do anything you want. And they have to take it more seriously once they're looking at university and college, like graduating high school, and like what courses you're going to pick. But I think even more than the words that people say is the actions that they're doing. And so if you have a 6-year-old at home and you're teaching her to go and do whatever you want and you could be XYZ, but then you're not living it yourself, I think the actions speak a lot louder than the words. And so a lot of parents, I think, are not off. Just most people are not living the life that they want. Most people are not chasing down. They've got goals, they've got aspirations, they've got dreams, and they're not taking the steps to do it. And so you can say something to your kid, but if you're then not off demonstrating and improving it, I think your kids are much more likely to see how you act as opposed to listen to what you're saying. And so then the challenge becomes, okay, what would, if you won't do it for yourself, for the parents out there, if you won't do it for yourself, do it for your kids, because they're
so
watching
true.
you.
So true. Because, obviously even with adults, we lead by action. We are the example of what young people look up to. And then when they see, especially their parents, what they do you incorporate your son in a lot of what you do in your business?
Only what he wants. I think like the best part about my parents is they always gave us the freedom to do whatever we wanted to go chase down. There was expectations that we would do something, but not expectations to do something specific, right? So like we had to go chase down goals and learn and improve. But all 3 of us, I have 2 sisters, went to go do different crazy things. And so with my son, people ask me, do you expect him to be an entrepreneur? It's like, no.
Right.
What does he want to do? Right now he's doing he's turning 13 in a couple weeks, and just looking at the date. Turning 13, so I'm gonna have a teenager soon, and he's in his big things are acting and Minecraft. And we had some entrepreneur stuff, like we had him do lemonade stand, and went to my dance studio and he was selling lemonade outside there. And maybe entrepreneurship comes back in some way. For making videos, sometimes he wants to be part of it, sometimes he doesn't. So it's like you basically make it, what are you interested in? Because when you care about something, you're much more likely to learn. And so he loves acting and he loves Minecraft. So on our last school break, I took him to California and we went to Hollywood. And I don't care about Hollywood, but we went to Hollywood to show him the Hollywood Walk of Fame and to take him through. The highlight was the Universal Studios kind of behind the scenes studio tour, because at least right now, that's what he's into. He's 13. Don't have to have him know what he wants
How
to
do
do
you introduce new things to him, right? Because we see a lot of young people who are saying, I don't want to do that because I don't like it. Yet they've never actually tried it, right? So how do you feel that it's a good way to introduce something new, because you wouldn't necessarily know about it or not had their parent not, or an adult not introduced it to them?
I think kids are being exposed to way more new things than what we as parents.
That's true.
Like just from what they watch on YouTube, they're exposed to. I'm asking my son and my nieces and nephews for like new things to do, right? What new videos are you watching? What new music should I listen to? What new things are trending? I'm asking them for what's new as opposed to me teaching them what's new. I think the key thing is listening, being involved in their lives and the things that they care about, as opposed to the things that we might want them to care about. So instead of forcing my son to go learn piano or trumpet or something, he really cares about Minecraft. He got into it, and so I joined him on Minecraft. You know, I suck at Minecraft. I didn't know the first time I played Minecraft, I dug myself into a hole and couldn't figure out how to get out. Like, this game is stupid. but I learned and I got better and I improved, and there's a lot of creativity in Minecraft that if I didn't know what it was, it's easy to judge it as just a waste of time or another video game or something. And so because he's interested in it, we spend time. Like, it's hard, you know, kids don't want to just sit down and talk about their life. I guess at least when you're 13 years old, 12 years old, right? Maybe when they're older, we'll see. But they don't want to just sit down and when you ask them, hey, how was your day? Fine.
Yeah.
What did you do? Nothing. And so how do you have conversations, and how do you lead them, and how do you guide them and mentor them? I think it's through shared activities, shared experiences. So if you want to show bouncing back after failure, you know, if I'm playing Minecraft and I got my full netherite gear, which is hard to get, and then I die and I lose all of it, right? And I'm starting over. Then what happens? Do I rage quit? Do I yell at my computer? Do I blame the creeper that blew me up, right? Or say, okay, that sucks.
Yeah.
Deep breath. We're starting over, right? And like that is demonstrating the life lessons. I think you could teach life lessons through anything. And if they actually care about that thing, then now I'm demonstrating how to be an adult, I guess, as opposed to having to be through the things that I learned through. So I don't have to teach through entrepreneurship or through books or through piano, teach you through the things that they actually care about. We're looking at trying to do one of the things that I loved about my mom is every year she took one of the three of us to something that we cared about. And so when she took me, it was to Dunedin, Florida, to go to spring training, Toronto Blue Jays, because you get to meet the players in the parking lot and see them. You know, I love baseball, and she kind of cared about baseball, but it wasn't really her thing. It was my thing. So we're looking at how do we do that for my son, but also for my nieces and nephews. They lost their mom a year and a half ago, and you know, my wife has kind of become the pseudo mom, and so they're a lot more than just nieces and nephews now. And so we're looking at what's one thing that I could take them to every year and just be about them. So my niece just turned 16 and she loves anime. I know nothing about anime, like I zero about anime. But I'm researching, like, when are the anime conferences and conventions coming up? That there's one coming up in LA, and I'm going to talk to her this weekend, and maybe that becomes a thing that I take her to. And let's go spend 3 days in LA at the anime conference, and I'll get into it. You know, I maybe I'm dressing up, maybe I'm standing in line waiting to do a selfie with like whoever famous person is, and it's not about me. It's about the experience with her, and on that. You know, trying to sit down and talk to her about life is challenging, but when you experience a trip together and we're spending 3 days, it's just me and her for 3 days doing something she cares about, there'll be lots of opportunities for connection and understanding and listening and life lessons inside of that.
For sure. For sure.
So yeah, like actually caring and being interested in the things that they're interested in, as opposed to the things that you
so
want
true.
to teach them.
I love that. So you like I mentioned before, you had said that you were slow. You know, you found it difficult a little bit. School. You went to 3 different schools. You had trouble making friends from time to time, and you weren't getting the extra attention that you needed. A lot of times. There's a lot of young people today that feel that way. And so a lot of teachers, and I have been one that included, had said, you know, well, you know, they just have difficulty learning. However, we know from you, Jim Quick, many other people, young kids, it was just the way that they were learning that was difficult for them. What do you think is a good way for teachers, education, instruction to happen today that what you think would have made a difference if it was a little bit different when you were in school?
Well, one, I had a undiagnosed hearing problem, and it led me to, like, I would sit under my desk
Wow.
at class during school. Like, the teacher would be teaching something, and you know, I don't remember this anymore, but like, it's just what my parents. I would sit under the desk at school instead of sitting in my chair. I would sit under the desk at school and not pay attention, and they thought I was like ignoring them or a bad student, and really, like, I just couldn't hear anything. And so instead of sitting there feeling dumb, I tried to do something on my own. I think that is a challenge in that teachers have so many kids in a classroom, and to spend individual time with everybody becomes, you know, challenging. But it's, you know, on the parents too. Then internet didn't exist when that was me,
Right.
you know, however old. Now you can. So maybe they have actually something physically wrong or emotionally wrong or something going on at home that it's not actually a learning problem. It's just
Right.
they're stressed out or they have a physical problem that, you know, needs to be solved. The second would be, and I mean, again, just for that, it's like creating a safe space and taking the time to actually care. Like, I tell the story of Madame Farr, who was my teacher, mentor in my last year of high school. And I went from being a B and C student to a straight 90 student after meeting her once a week. I was the same person, you know. It was just like that extra support and belief, and having somebody to help me was great. And then second is just understanding how you learn. So auditory is the worst way for me. I like to learn by seeing something, and I like to learn with having somebody kind of guide me. And so my whole history of feeling like a dummy and stupid and can't learn was really, I just can't learn that way. I need to have a guide. And when I have a guide and I can actually see it,
Right.
I'm actually a great learner. But I didn't understand that until I was like in my 20s. So, you know, that's if we can learn that earlier, I think it'd be a great gift that we can give.
I agree
our
with
kids.
you in that sense. I think that that's one of the biggest issues today with education. And, you know, yes, there's a lot of different kids in the class, but, you know, it's still, the system itself is still that one track system that only works for 1/3 of kids. And so, yeah, it's interesting to hear that, because it's really just an alteration of how the material is presented or how you learn that would have made such a big difference. Now, going to piggyback on you were assigned Madame Farr, Miss Farr, Madame Farr, and she was your mentor in grade 12, right? And she made you believe in yourself. You were just like, oh my gosh, like, you said you had got straight A's, and it made all the difference. Why do you think, like, what do you think would have happened had you been assigned a mentor in grade 9?
Yeah, it would have made all the difference in the world. And I think when I moved between Madame Farr and Mrs. Farr, because I called her Madame Farr, but most people don't understand what
Was
that
she a
means.
French
So
teacher?
we try to say Mrs. Farr
Okay.
sometimes, but yeah, she was my French teacher. And I went to a French immersion school. That was the second school that I went to before transferring to my final school for high school. And I was just way ahead in French because I went to French immersion, and now I went to regular school, and French was easy. So I was in class with people who were like 3 years my age, and roasting them on all the tests and exams, and it was super easy. Not because I was smart, but just because I was in such an intensive program that this was easy stuff that they were learning. So I built a little bit of a bond with her because she was my teacher there, and I think she felt bad for me being kind of picked on because I'm with people who are 2-3 years older than me, and I'm destroying them, but I'm the only one in the class who's that young and had no friends. And so she took a liking to me, I guess. And I'm grateful that my school had that program. They paired the graduating students with a teacher, and the idea was that you would meet once a week. It was a teacher mentorship program. Almost.
Yeah, you said that, like, that's crazy.
I mean, I think it's a combination of, like, the students maybe didn't want to meet the teachers, and the teachers weren't pushing it because they probably had a million other things to do, coaching classes, clubs and marketing and all that. Maybe I was too, he's like, okay, this is what we do. I didn't ask enough questions or judge it. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm meeting her, and I got assigned her, which is great because maybe she picked me. I don't even know. It's probably, actually, if I think back of like students picking kids, she would probably have picked me. It's not some random assignment, but yeah. And I mean, I had already finished all the highest level French classes by that point. I wasn't even taking French anymore because I already finished grade 12 French, like in grade 10. So she wasn't helping me with school. She wasn't helping me with the content of the material. Meeting her every week. I'd meet her once a week in the morning before class started, and she would just ask me about how things was going. And it just felt great. And I had my parents who always inject me with belief too, but for whatever reason, like being in the environment, having a teacher who kind of knew what I was going through really helped. So if I had that at grade 9, yeah, I mean, what a difference it would have made. I don't know how we, obviously the more customized you can make it and the more belief you can inject in the students, the better results are going to get. I don't have the answer for how do you do that at scale.
Well, it's interesting because like statistics show that 75% of students who are mentored actually go on to graduate college or university.
Good evening, guys. I want to share with you a story from Les Brown today to remind us that we must always keep rising. And how did it go today, by the way? Can you find examples where you used that thought energy of always trying to keep rising? If not, get it back in your mind. Tomorrow's another day. This is another moment. You always can rise from whatever you've fallen from. And I want us to remember Les Brown's story where he was playing a game of Connect Four with his son, his younger son, and he wanted to go to sleep. He was tired. He kept winning and beating his son. And his son said to him, "Dad, it's not over until I win." And that is the spirit that we have to remember if we're going to keep rising. It's not over until you win whatever you lost at. Have a great evening, everyone.
My original teacher was Jim Rohn. I met him when I was 17. And I wanted to know why all my fathers were broke, because they were good men. I loved all 4 of my fathers. And I remember him saying, "Tony, we're all equal as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace." I was like, "What does that mean?" And he said, "Well, think about it." He goes, "You need to become more valuable if you want to have economic freedom." He said, "You have to work on yourself more than anything else, and you have to work on it in a way where there's something you can do for others better than anyone else, or at least more, at a better quality." And he gave me an example of like working at McDonald's. And he said, if you work at McDonald's, you make whatever it was in those days, $5 an hour, whatever it was. And he said, I go, "Yeah, but that seems so unfair." And he goes, I gave the example of teachers. And there's these billionaires, that make $1 billion a year, hedge fund guy, And he said, "Tony, the guy you just mentioned, he provided a 40% return last year. And that went to nonprofits and everything else." He said, "That means those organizations double their money almost every 2 years. He is adding massive value, hundreds of $1 billion, so they made $1 billion." He goes, "This person is doing a job that anyone can learn in 20 minutes or half a day. So it's a beginning job." He said, "You got to think of it as one thing. It's all about adding value. How can you do more for others than anybody else in the world?" And that stuck with me. I was just like, I decided I wanted to do more for others than anybody in the world. In order to do that, I had to have certain skills, and I went after those skills, and I still do. It's a never-ending thing. If you think you're a master, you're full of it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably some of the best advice I've received, at least on life and business and direction, and affected my mission.
Need motivation? Watch the top 10 with Believe Nation. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Tony Robbins, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, change your psychology.
The difference between making it or not is psychology and skill. You need them both. And honestly, skill is the smaller of the two. I'm gonna give you a ton of strategies this week. I'm gonna do psychology first, and you're gonna see why as this day goes by, because you're gonna discover when people stand up and we figure out what's the chokehold on their business, 80% of the time, it's gonna be their psychology. The chokehold on the growth of your business is the psychology and skills of the leader, period. That's it. And if we change those two things, skills too, marketing skills, financial intelligence, recruiting, training, all those things, we train those too. Don't get me wrong, we gotta do the skills also. But I could give you every skill. How many of you have learned it before that was invaluable from some source, a mentor, a coach, an event, a university, I don't know what, and you were excited about it and then you never actually followed through? Who's done this before? Say, I. Listen, knowledge is not power. Execution trumps knowledge every day of the week. My goal is to make you execute. I can't make you, but I can get you where you tap into that part of yourself. And that shift is the most important shift of these few days.
Rule number 3, unlock your own true nature.
All of us, we could take our work and think of work as being like a gift. I personally believe that one of the greatest gifts outside my love that I can give another human being is my labor. But there's 3 gifts of labor you might have within your nature, meaning you can master anything, but under stress, people tend to go back to their true nature. And there are 3 gifts of labor that you can give. One of those gifts we might call the gift of being an artist or a talent, or another word for it would be a truly skilled producer. Some people, the reason you know this is your gift is what you love to do is to create a product or service and deliver it to people, and you're enamored by that. The woman over here who was doing the work, if you recall, in hospice, she would be a perfect example of an artist. She's not in it. She wants to make money, don't get me wrong, but she would never trade the money for the impact. So when someone is in it as an artist, and by the way, most businesses are started by artists. There's somebody who was an amazing negotiator, an amazing fashion designer, amazing code writer. And they said, I work for this company and they don't do a good job for customers and I can do a better job. I don't work for them, and they start their own company thinking that the company is all driven just by the sales or the negotiation or the code or the fashion. But a company is much more complex than that, especially as it grows. So an artist is in it for the impact. And yes, they want to make money, don't get me wrong, but it's not the first thing and they won't trade it. When I talk to artists about selling their business, they look at me like I'm trying to sell their child. The second gift you might have is the gift of being a manager leader. A manager leader is someone who lives to manage people and processes. They love to figure out how to maximize a business by changing the gears, creating a new process, working with people. And those people love it. Now, they are not artists in that their talent or skill, they're not there delivering it directly to the client. They want to work on the people that are directly delivering the client. They want to work on the system that makes this business work. And so they think it differently. They're inspired by different things. They make different decisions. Is one better or worse than the other? Yes or no? No, they're just different. And by the way, you might say I have both those skills. I bet you do, but they're not equal because they're different types of skills. So you might have them both, but there's one that is your true nature, that when things are going well, you're going to go back to it. When things are really up, you're going to go back to it. Under stress and under excitement, we return to our nature. By the way, a great company can't be great without great artist talent who really deliver extraordinary products or services. A company cannot maintain greatness and grow unless they have some great manager leaders who can run the process and the people. They're both critical components. The third choice of service, the true gift you can give, is that of an entrepreneur. And while most of you in this room would call yourself an entrepreneur and you would be entrepreneurial, by this definition, it's a little different. Most people think of an entrepreneur as anybody who starts multiple businesses. No, that's not true. Some artists start multiple businesses because they want to get all kinds of things for all kinds of people. Some managers want to do multiple businesses so they feel like they have multiple systems. But an entrepreneur is in it for one thing, the juice of risk. They want to make money. And by the way, an entrepreneur, will they sell this business? Yes or no? For the right price, they'll sell anything. And their mindset is, sell it, I'll start another one. Sell it, I'll buy another one. They are not attached. They might enjoy the product or service. They might be proud of the product or service, but they're in it for the risk. And they're the kind of person that when they lose massively, they jump up, dust themselves off, and want to do it again.
Rule number 4, be creative and caring.
Lifestyle's not about money. It's about two things: creativity and caring. It doesn't take money, it just takes a little creativity to think about those you love and think what would light them up. It will light you up more than anything else, I promise you. To surprise them, to do beautiful, special things, little things. It makes people feel important, needed, loved, appreciated. What better way to invest than invest in your relationships with those you love? And you can't give joy to everybody else that you love without giving joy to yourself. And then there's another kind. The other kind is where you invest in those you don't even know. Not for stars on your chart, because you know it's right. It can be done with such a small amount of money. It's not money, it's creativity and caring. Maybe it's animals that are abused. Maybe it's old folks that people don't pay attention to anymore. Maybe it's providing one surgery for someone who has lost sight and can see again. Provide water for a family.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, set a large purpose.